Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 5 of the 5-Star Grand Prix 2025 daily review series. I am your host, as always, Scott E. And today we have 16 matches to go over from the 5-star, as it was a doubleheader in Tochigi as the sisters returned home. We had a Blue Star show first, then a Red Star show to close out the nightcap. Thank you, everyone, for who continues to join me for this series. I know it's a lot. I know between watching all the matches and if you're tuning into these, it's a lot of viewing, but I appreciate your time. I appreciate you always checking these out. It means the world to me. So thank you for that. Since we have 16 matches here, I'm not going to hold you too long. We're going to get right to them. A lot of these matches actually have pretty quick reviews. Some of them were shorter in time due to the surprise effect or one thing or the other. So be excited for that. But before we get to that, I will just ask you all to check out the reviews from the past week or so. Obviously, from a week ago, we have the opening day review from the 5-star Grand Prix. We have day 2 up as well, day 3 and day 4, which we got done yesterday. You can also check out, if you're interested, the Marigold edition of this. They had day 1 on Saturday. We'll have day 2 up when that becomes available on the Wrestle Universe. But with that being said, let's get to day 5 of in-ring action here from the 5-star Grand Prix. A tournament, mind you, that I believe is, as I kind of said, after the first 2 shows, I do think we're going to start climbing up a little bit. And I think that's exactly what we're doing. The Sendai Pit show is still the best show, I think, of the tournament thus far, but I had a good time with a lot of matches here on day 5. So we'll talk about them here now, shall we? Starting with Aya Sakura versus the hometown girl Yuria Hime. Very simple match. I think that's the best way to talk about this. Very simple match. Nothing too out of the ordinary here between the two. And I don't think anyone expected much of that to be out of the ordinary. They got 5 minutes and 41 seconds in there. So Yuri Hime's longest match, which is nice, obviously. The Bozilla match and the Miyu Amasaki match, which were so short, you only have so much time to shine. You only have so much time to stand out. And I thought overall she did a fine job. Aya Sakura got the win with 3 swift kicks to the head of Yuria Hime. So, yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. But hey, no complaints here. Overall, a fine match. Next up, we had Kohgo versus Hanako. They were very into Kohgo at times, but overall, I thought the crowd was kind of dead for this one. They didn't have much cheering interest. There was, to me, just a lack of excitement for this match. And I think really from here, things start to dial up a little bit. But when a match is kind of by the books, Hanako's going to get the win. She's going to beat Kogo. It's hard to invest, I think, if you are in the crowd. So I get that. I'm hoping, this is only Hanako's second match, if I remember correctly. She hasn't had the chance to have a big match against one of the big competitors yet, but I'm hoping she has a standout somewhere here. The first 2 matches haven't been memorable by any means. And this one was just kind of the case. It's her and Ranna on night 1. Now it's this. I'm hoping, maybe a match with Momo or Sareee or Suzu get something out of her. But she ended up winning with her submission where she like hugs the wrestler. It's not a great submission, but it's what they've given her. So she does what she can with it. Kogo's just there to take the pins. That's been her role, and put in a little offense overall and call it a day. So again, it is what it is. Like I said, a lot of these matches, there's a lot of matches to celebrate, I think. But there's also the undercard matches, which is part of the 32-person block, as you know. So it is what it is. Iida versus Ruaka. I quite enjoyed this match. I thought this had a nice hot start. Iida ran into the ring, started fighting Ruaka. Obviously, they had just fought over the Goddesses of Stardom titles just was it 2 weeks ago now? And of course, Ruaka and Natsuko Tora took the belts from them. So I kind of liked playing that up. Obviously, Ruaka ultimately was sick on what day was that now? On Friday, I think. So that match got postponed. Originally, it was just, hey, we're just gonna give the points, but they did manage to postpone that. So this was her second opportunity in the tournament, and I think she's been a bright spot. The Bozilla match was fun on opening night. And I think this was pretty fun too. I think, just letting them kind of be the two powerhouses, no problem with that. And then you had Saida get the victory, which I believe was Saida's first 2 points. So shouts out. It's time for Saida maybe to go on a little run here. At least that's what I would hope she gets to do. But a fine undercard match here. Nothing that I think you need to go out of your way to see, but I thought it was fun for what it was. Ranna Yagami versus Konami. This match was pretty by the books, very fundamental, solid wrestling, trading some kicks back and forth, little submission holds there and there. And then kind of out of nowhere, bam, Rana pulls off the upset with a cool flash pin victory. The crowd was like just like kind of just sitting there like waiting and waiting for something to happen. And the moment that pin happened, they erupted. They erupted in excitement. And I thought it was a nice match, especially for myself, not to have known the result of, because it really would have taken that out of the picture as well. Again, another fine match. And I think I don't want to just be like, oh, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. It's just, these for I'll say this, on the most of these shows, I feel like the first 4 matches are kinda okay, whatever, unless they do the order different, and it's the second half where you really leap into that next gear, and I think that's kinda how I felt watching this match and watching, the number of matches before it. Again, maybe that's just me, but overall, the upset was worth it, the upset was a fun one, so no complaints there. You had Miyu Amasaki versus Bozilla. My big take that I've been waiting to make a point of somewhere is Miyu Amasaki, and this is going to sound ridiculous, and that's fine. She feels non-canon to Stardom. And when I say that, it's like Miyu Amasaki is a very good wrestler. And we've seen it, right? We've seen it in her title match opportunities. We've seen it in her, as part of the trios champions. We've seen it against Rina for the future Stardom title. But it feels like every time we get around to the 5-star Grand Prix, she has to be in the shortest matches. She never gets, I feel like, that big highlight match. And I think that's a bummer. I really do. I think that is an absolute bummer because I think she's super talented. I think she's someone that deserves a little bit more time in there. And that's not saying this match was bad. I had fun with this match, quite frankly. But she's someone that I think is a talent that they should invest in and believe in. And I think it's kind of a bummer that they don't. Now, I believe her next match is this her next match? So on day 7, she will head home to Kyoto. I believe that is her hometown. So, her and Iida, maybe they'll get some more showcase, get some more love, hopefully, on that show. But yeah, I mean, Amasaki's awesome. She is, and I would like to see her get some longer matches and get some bigger opportunities. And maybe, as the cards go on, we'll get that. But she's a wrestler that I really enjoy. So I'd like to see her get some more time in the ring. But hey, it's fine. She's not going to be at the top of the block. I understand that. But this match, like I said, was fun. So you had the normal chair tossing. That was a big time trend on that first show. There was a lot of throwing each other into chairs, and that's kind of just been a trend, obviously, with hate and whatnot. But a big time trend here. Bozilla throws her into the chairs, but she's putting up a good fight. I thought Amasaki got some good offense in. I thought Bozilla was open to giving her a little bit of offense. She hit her big, stalling DDT on Bozilla, which was a big time moment, big time pop. And then she got caught for a power bomb, hit with a Styles Clash, and she lost. Poor Miyu. Hell of an opportunity though. She tried. That's what matters. Yeah, Bozilla's gaining momentum. I think after that draw, I don't see her losing many, if any, of these matches. But hey, that's kind of how it goes. Bozilla's next match does take place at Corkin Hall on Wednesday against Sareee. That could be her best match of the tournament. quite looking forward to that one. For Miyu Amasaki, like I said, hometown match against Saya Iida. So looking forward to both of those. This is where we dial it up. This is where we up the stakes. Suzuki versus Momo Watanabe. You know, there's always something so great about these two. I've been a fan of these two for years now. Suzu dating back to Ice Ribbon, Momo since the moment I started watching Joshi. And I just sat there as they stood face to face. I'm like, this feels like a big match. I wish I wish it was seen as a bigger match in Stardom than it is right now. I say that as they're third to the top. They're not even the semi-main. And I'm like, man, really? And they're so good. Like, that's the thing. They're just so good against each other that I want them to get that chance to shine. And I'm also sitting there, I'm like, man, both of these two should have been world champion already. As we know, Suzu was pretty much on the brink of that happening, didn't happen, and I don't need to tell you that Momo has to be world champion. But they had such a good match. They had such a good match. I know, shocker, breaking news. One of my favorites of the tournament thus far. Hard hitting, back and forth. There was a moment where they're on the apron and Suzu has Momo up for like a pile driver spot, and she drops her shoulder first onto the edge of the apron. Oh my god, that was the second nastiest bump, and it was probably way safer than the Saya Iida bump against Ami Sohrei, but that was nasty. I was like, that was kind of like a what it's a move I really like. It's like a shortened power bomb where you just kind of have them sitting there and then drop. It was, I guess, supposed to be more of a pile driver, but thankfully she landed on her shoulders and on her head. But awesome spot there and kind of play to that. But Momo comes back around. She had a B driver on the outside. By the time they get in the ring, they're just trading big forearms. Momo starts using the kicks. Suzu steals the bat from Momo. That was a good spot. Smashed her with that. Momo comes back and smashes her with the bat herself and hits a super Uranagi from the top rope. That was a great spot. I think Suzu's one of the best at the super spot, the top rope, big spot, and it's usually her taking the spot, but I think she's always fantastic at it, and she's always willing to take such a spot that it makes it for a really cool spot in her matches. And ultimately, she hit Momo hit the tequila sunrise. That's not enough. She gets the peach sunrise in on Suzu and gets the victory. This match kind of was a big circle of, oh, this could be a draw. But no, that was not the case. Ultimately, she beats Suzuki, puts her on a great, great run to the top. She's now 3-0, 6 points, a lot better than last year when she started the tournament off 0-4. So that's awesome. We love to see that. We love to see Momo succeed. And she's been really good. Shocker. I know. I really love Blue Stars B. I like Blue Stars A lot. I think they both, when you give us the top of the top matches from these two blocks, it really hits every time. So that was a really good one. Momo's next match comes on Wednesday against Rana Yagami, while Suzu's next match is the same day against Hanako. So two matches to look out for. Suzu trying to get back on track. Momo trying to keep the undefeated streak going. Then you have the semi-main, Soriano versus Ami Sohrei. I thought this was really good too. I think it earned its semi-main spot despite, me wanting Suzu and Momo there for bias reasons. Ami Sohrei, man, I want to give her credit. I think she's been so good since she's come back. Obviously, if you listen, and I say this every time, but if you listen to me for a long time, me and Ami Sohrei were not always on the same page, but she is a different wrestler since she's come back, and I always said, like, clean slate, let's see how she does. She's figured it out, and she understands who she is as a wrestler. She works her chops into these matches, and I wanna shout out Sariano too. I'm gonna keep saying this every time I do one of these reviews. One of the best tournament wrestlers in the world, folks. She's awesome. She's so awesome. Every match you put her in, every opportunity you give her, she's going to do her best to help either herself or her opponent and create dramatics. I love Saori. I really, really do. The more I watch her and the more I watch her in a tournament setting, especially, I'm like, man, this is your thing. And these two had good chemistry. I think no one has taken more chops in this tournament than Saori between the Iida match and now this match. She is just suffering. But at one point, Ami Sohrei slaps Saori across the face, but she fights through that. We got a great kick out on Saori's pottering that really got me. I was like, oh shit, she's gonna win. But not the case. Not the case as we got the big kick out. So that was really cool. Really good spot. Um, we got a blue thunder bomb from Ami Sohrei, and then Saori kicked out, but that led to the thunderbolt, like a thunderbolt. I think that's what it's called, to get the win. And Ami Sohrei keeps on going strong here in Blue Stars. She is now a 3-0 with 6 points, as we all expected. She's going to be strong throughout this tournament, and a big win over Saori, one of the top wrestlers in the block. That's going to go a very, very long way for her. So, big wins for her. Tough sledding for Saori, but a very solid semi main event here. Then we get to my main event. This was my main event on this day. Hina going one-on-one with Sareee in her hometown, in Hina's hometown. This match ruled, man. This match rocked. Right, this and Suzu and Momo I have kind of on the similar level, among the best matches in the tournament, but there's just something so fantastic about the heat that Sareee gets and the love that Hina gets, right? You mix that together in the hometown of Hina and you make for such a really good match. Heel Sareee can do literally everything, or let me rephrase, literally anything, and she's gonna get booed, and she's living up, she's playing it up, and she's doing so with confidence. It's the reason why she's so good at this heel role. And she just, listen, she's not changing a lot. She's still clapping, she's still playing to the crowd, and they just hate it. And that's why I love this version of Sareee. I know people want her to embrace being a heel even more. She does. It's little things, putting her face in Hina's face, the way she pins them, just a little disrespect to the wrestler goes a long way. There's a reason she is so good at this. There's a reason this match worked so well, because she was then willing to give Hina so much. Hina was hitting so many big forearms. She was such a great underdog in this match, fighting back, and then fighting back, big forearm. Then Sareee just comes with the crushing blow that sent her back. But that didn't stop Hina. Listen, Hina's future stardom run, we've all said, has been an eye opener, right? She's stepped up, she's stepped in, and she's crushing it. Why would she stop crushing it here in her biggest match against Sareee? No, no, no. She absolutely continued to crush it. Hina's best match of the tournament, a match that I think we all circled as hometown main event. It works. It's perfect. And she did a great job. She hit an STO at one point. Then she locked Sareee in a submission, trying to beat her out for that. But we also got some great Hina spots. She hit a Gato clutch at one point for a great near fall. She hit the jackhammer, and then she went for her big frog splash, but she got blocked, which was crushing. She got another great near fall from there later on. And then Sareee said enough is enough. She planted her. She did tease going for the Uranagi one time, but did not have to hit that. She hit a double stomp, kick out, some hope for Hina. But she hit one more double stomp, got the win, and completed what I thought was a fun Blue Star show overall, with a great main event and a really just overall great final three matches. I thought they all lived up to the hope I had going into it. And if you watch those three matches, I think you walked away with a good time. So, really, really good stuff. They all made the sheet at the end of this slide. So, if you want to know what matches are worth watching from this day, we'll get there. But those are the main three for sure. So now we head over to the Red Stars side of thing. It started off with Waka and Saya Kamitani. Listen, I don't know if Waka's ever going to have a real match in this tournament, but I don't think she needs to. Out of all the wrestlers that I think we can agree on don't need to be in this tournament, that's not trying to be mean, but we all would like a 20-person block, right? I think or 20-person block. Nope, 20-person field, two blocks. But out of all the people that are, in this situation, I think Waka is doing a great job at just going for the quick pins and then getting caught and losing, because ultimately it's going to pay off one time. One time she's going to win, and it's going to be a big pop. Probably her last night. When's her last night? Against Lady C, maybe. She could do it against Azusa. I don't know. But this one was really funny because she got some great near falls on Saya that the crowd was super into. And it works because the crowd's into it. If the crowd wasn't into it on these near falls, it wouldn't matter. The matches wouldn't be good. But the crowds are into it, so it makes up for it. And ultimately, she got caught for the Star Crusher to fall victim here. This match went a whopping, let's see, 40 seconds. Her second shortest match of the tournament, because of course she lost 28. I don't know. I liked it though. I thought it was funny. I thought Saya's been having her mostly she hasn't had to do much. She's already wrestled Lady C, she's already wrestled Waka, and she's already wrestled Yuna. So all of her, and Azusa. So all the big names are still left for her in her block, obviously. But she started off a nice 4-0, 8 points. But she's not alone in being 4-0. But we'll talk about that here in a second. But it was funny for what it was. I had a lot of fun with that. And hey, honestly, that's all I'm looking for. We then had Natsuko Tora versus Rian. Very by the books match. Very by the books match. I don't I don't have much to say about it. Like, Rian had a good little hope spot. She's good, rookie versus the big heel, it wasn't bad. It's just kind of there, like it didn't do anything necessarily to move me, but it wasn't bad. It was fine. Tora won with the big splash, so that was cool. Moving on. Then we got Lady C and Azusa Naba. I enjoyed this match. I did. Azusa's doing good. The best she can, I should say. This block isn't made for her to, I think, succeed in the ways I think she was before the tournament. Though the Saya match was really cool because Saya obviously put a lot into that one. But I thought her and Lady C probably was her second best match. Lady C hits a bunch of kicks and big boots, and they trade back and forth a little bit here and there. The crowd's kind of into it. Could be way worse, Like I don't think, from where my expectations are, I don't think I could ask for much more, like, from these two specifically. There was a great haluva kick hit by Lady C at one point. She then hits the choke slam and does a running boot to get the win. I was like, I feel like this is due in reverse order. The choke slam was a lot more impactful than the running boot, but whatever. I don't think Azusa should be losing every match. I think that's my big take. I think Azusa is a future star. She's 17. I understand that, the youngest in any tournament this year, but I don't know. I think she can get more wins. I know she's beaten Hanan, so that's a big deal, but I feel like she doesn't need to lose to, Lady C. But Lacey needs a win here and there, I guess. I don't know. She beat Yuna already. Does she really need more? Lacey's definitely done winning. Anyways, I enjoy Azusa for what she brings to the table. I hope her next few matches are a little bit better. I like to obviously keep updating you all on the schedule. So Azusa has Yuna at Corkin on Wednesday. I think that should be a fun one. Lacey's off, and then Lacey's next match is against Hanan. Oh, Mesa versus Azusa Naba's on the day 8. That should be a fun one next weekend. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's that's all. All right, moving on. Then we had Starlight Kid versus Sayaka Kurara. I quite enjoyed this match. I think Kurara's finding that steady pace, I guess is the word for it, in terms of consistency, having solid matches, and growing along the way. I think that's what we all want to be looking for when it comes to someone like Sayaka Kurara. I think it's too much to ask for her to be, in these big time main events like she was on night 1. But, you put her in the undercards against the main event caliber wrestlers, she's going to have good performances. I thought this match was better than the main event against Natsupoi on night 1. I just think it was fundamentally smarter, like, and Starlight Kid is a good person for her to work. Starlight Kid works the leg and all that stuff, but the way they put it together was good back and forth action. Kurara has some hope spots, right? That's what you want for wrestlers like a Kurara. She had at one point there was this great spot where she did the dive for the spear and completely missed, and then Kid bounces off the rope, hits her in the back with a knee. That was a really cool spot. But she did come back. Kurara hit a good Violet shooting knee. She hits them better than Tam, by the way. She just runs right into it. It's more like the Basaiku knee, really, than a Violet shooting style knee. But that was a good spot. She also hit 2 spears on Starlight Kid. The second one was kind of a big shock. She usually it's just the one, but she hit 2, and the second one was a good pop, good near fall. Um, Ultimately, she was not going to win this match. It was Starlight Kid hitting the moonsault to get the victory and walk home happy. But overall, a solid match. If I was to look at my overall ratings from this show, it was tied for second favorite match of the show. So good performance by Kurara, good stuff by SLK once again. And that was tied with my other second favorite match of the show, which was this one, Mei Seira versus Uni Misamorei. This might be the closest we ever get to a true high speed title match ever again. Now that we have the rounds, I was happy for Una, man. Una's had a tough go. Una's had a tough go in this tournament. She hasn't had the proper time to have some good matches. She hasn't had the proper opportunities, I think, to do what she's capable of. But her and Mei Seira, they went out there and they crushed it, as I kind of hoped for, because obviously we're telling the story of Yuna's back on the high speed title chase, right? We're looking at that high speed title. It was only right that she beats Mei Seira, pulls off the shock victory. And I think this loss could be the one that keeps Mei Seira out of that top 3 at the end of tournament play and we head into the playoffs. So I think that's the crucial part. So they just kept trading near falls. At one point, Una absolutely crushed Mei Seira with a lariat that turned her inside out. I was kind of hoping that was just the end of the match. I have no idea. This is a funny point. Sorry, my nose is itchy. I think this is a funny point. I have no idea what Uni Misamore's finisher is. I cannot remember it for the life of me, but I would love if she hit a jumping lariat to win because it's just so good. But ultimately they're trading near falls at the end. Mei Seira goes for her signature one where she rolls through and has your shoulders. That's reverse, 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 reverse. Mei Seira gets her down for 2 near fall. Crowd erupts for that one. And then ultimately Una finds her chance to get the Superman dive, gets Mei Seira's legs down. 1, 2, 3. Uni Misamorei takes the win, locks herself in an eventual high-speed title match as well, if I'd have to guess. So that was a lot of fun, really fun match. Exactly what you want from Uni Misamorei. Exactly what you want. So that was really cool. Mei Seira's next match is at Korakuen Hall this Wednesday when she takes on Bea Priestley, while Azusa and Uni Misamorei collide on that show as well. But good stuff here. Like I said, one of my more liked matches from this show, specifically the Red Star show. We then had Azumi versus Natsupoi. This was not second. On paper, it should be. But they didn't wrestle long. They had a fine match, not a bad match whatsoever. They had a fine, solid match, but this was not here to be long. This was here to be short. 2 minutes and 35 seconds, trading high speed exchanges, trading near falls, just kind of rushing through it, which I don't know. Maybe this is just me. I'm a little let down by both of Azumi's big matches against the other high speed two. Now, listen, I like the Starlight Kid one, but it's not to the greatness we know they're capable of. And this one was a high speed match, so I had fun with it, but I want them wrestling 10 plus minutes, not sub 3. So that's just my overall take. But you got to do it to get some big shocks. They got a big shock. Natsupoi gets Azumi Sushi for the loss. And that brings us to an interesting spot when it comes to that block. Azumi is now at 5. Starlight Kid's at 5. Natsupoi's sitting at 4. She's 2-2. So if she's going to be in that top 3, she's pretty much got to win out, which we'll talk about here in a second when we get over to the standings and the schedule. But Azumi's next match is at Korakuen Hall against Rina. I cannot wait for that match. That's gonna be awesome. Natsupoi is off for that show, and then she's back in Okayama on day 8 against Rina. So that should be 2 great matches for Rina. And then Natsupoi, what does she have left? She then has Rion, and on the final day has SLK. So she's gonna need those wins. She's going to need those wins. Obviously, Rina is undefeated, which is where we get to now. This was tied for my favorite match between the two shows. Rina Tomoki Naba. Tomoki Naba has been an MVP candidate in this year's tournament. I think she's only second to Saori, which I know, shocker, big shock. But she's had an incredible go, even if the record doesn't reflect that. And Rina, I mean, all of Rina's big matches are still saved. Rina's final 3 matches, now that she's 4-0, are Azumi on day 6, Natsupoi on day 8, Starlight Kid on day 10, and then she's done. So all the 3 big matches that she has left, I think she's kind of an underdog to take MVP because she's had good matches with the lower part of the lower in quotes. I think this is a very strong block, but lower in quotes. Now she's going to face the big 3. I think she got some great matches. Obviously, the Starlight Kid one is a potential favorite of the tournament for me based on their match earlier this year. It'll be interesting to see what the story is. Does she go 0-3 against the big 3? Does she steal? She's going to need to steal 1 win to get in, I think. But she's sitting at 8. We'll see how that goes. It'll bring us to the final night. We'll see if she misses out because she goes 0-3 in these last 3 matches or not. But she's in great spot. But let's get to this match. They were trading big boots. They did some work on the outside. Rena was playing heel in her hometown, which is always funny because they were like, we want to cheer you, but we have to boo you, that type thing. They get back into the ring as that's really where this match picked up. Tomoka hit a dragon screw on Rena, which was brutal in all the right ways. Kind of leaving Rena on her back foot. Rena comes back, hits an everything is evil, devastating one at that. She also hit 2 double knees from the top rope, but those did not get her the win. At one point, we got to a struggle point where Tomoki Naba got in the heel hook on Rena, and she had to survive that. That continued to Tomoka hitting a nasty buzzsaw kick on Rena. You heard the thump on that one. She did not miss there. And at one point, as they're running, she hits the Michinoku driver after getting out of the gory bomb. She avoids it. She gets hit with the Michinoku driver, but Rena kicks out. Again, we're building Rena strong. We're keeping her strong. They, final stretch here, trading moves, trading reversals, and then boom, Rena gets her with the gory bomb once again to get her 4th straight win, start off her first ever tournament 4-0. I literally said gory bomb, and I felt like Mike Breen saying bang. If you watch basketball, you get what I'm saying. But a really good match. Rena's best match yet. And like I said, she is kind of on a pace where she can be the MVP of this tournament. I surely believe it with the matches she has left. And here's my take. Have Rena win the tournament. I know it's crazy, but listen, we're in the star making business when it comes to this 5-star Grand Prix. And if we're not going to have the winner of this face Saya Kamitani at Queendom, which we don't know one way or the other. But if we're not going to, why not have Rena win and challenge Starlight Kid at Queendom instead? She can debate over it for a few months. That's how you set up the Queendom match. I would love that. It's not going to happen. I know. But I would give Rena the win because I think she's put in incredible work. I think we're all about making stars. Losing the Cinderella final, but winning this one, that would be something. She is having an incredible year. She continues to have a great year. I want that to happen. So that's cool. Unfortunately for Tomoki Naba, she drops to 1-3 in the tournament, leaving herself on the outside looking in for sure. She's going to have to win 3 in a row to even have a shot. Um, but Rina's next match, like I said, is against Azumi on Wednesday. Tomoka will not wrestle again until wow, she's off for a while. Until the 16th when she faces Natsuko Tora. Wait a minute. Is that true? Oh no, I looked it wrong. Until the 10th, when she faces Sayaka Kurara. So that a win against Kurara, a win against Tora, and a win against Rian. That sets her up to go 4-3. At least get her into the conversation. Probably have some heartbreak on the final night, but I think that's the path for her. But hey, let's see how long Rina can stay undefeated. Azumi seems like a big roadblock, but if she wins that match, she's in. Like, there's no doubting she is clinching a spot, and she doesn't wrestle on the final night. That's one thing. Rina does not wrestle on day 11, which is the final night of block action like this. So we'll see how that goes when we get there. But hey, a really fun match, really good match. And I thought Hina and Rina absolutely lived up to their spots in their hometown. And then we had the main event of the Red Star show. I listen. I have had hope that B would go back in time kind of and have that one match that's like, okay, there's something here. And this was one of the options because you knew this was going to main event, and yeah, fundamentally this match was fine. There was one scary spot on the brainbuster attempt, but otherwise, fundamentally this match was fine. It just was boring. Like the crowd didn't even feel as into it. And Hanan's in this match. This is the hometown girl, and it was just bland, uninspiring, not exciting. Maybe that's just me, but I don't know. It's not been a good tournament for B. This was her best match. Like I think this was fundamentally fine. Like I said, and Hanan, having the big baby face win, hitting the two backdrop drivers. She caught B on the top rope, dropped her, picked her back up, hit her with a nasty one to get the win. I'm just underwhelmed. Just underwhelmed by what B brings to the table. This was Hanan's first main event of the tournament. Won't be her last. Won't be her last. I think she main events on Wednesday, quite frankly. So that'll be big for her. But yeah, I don't know. Just nothing I want to write home about. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something. But maybe we'll see B have a better match with May Sarah. I think May Sarah's a better opponent for her. With the way May Sarah wrestles, could be a better show on Wednesday. But that is it from the blocks of action here today. Let's go over everything before we get out of here. We won't be back on this channel until Wednesday, so we'll have a late night upload for the Dream Star one. I'm probably going to watch the two matches when those are uploaded, get the video right out, maybe schedule for the morning. And then, of course, I'll watch the Cork and get that out. So we'll have two recordings drop on Wednesday once again. But let's get to the stats and all that goodness before we get out of here. So, as you can see, we have the Blue Stars A block looks like this. Sohrei stands at the top with 6 points and an undefeated 3-0. Bozilla sits with 5 at 2-0-1. Soriano, after dropping her first match, is at 4 points. Aya Sakura, Miyu Amasaki, and Iida all with 2, and then Ruaka with 1, and Yuria Hime dead last with 0. Something tells me that Sohrei, Bozilla, and Soriano are going to hold on to those spots. You then have Momo Watanabe sitting atop Blue Stars being an undefeated 3-0. Hanako, Sareee, and Suzuki all with 4, as Hanako's undefeated, unlike the other two. Konami and Ranna Yagami both have 2 points apiece as well, while Hina and Momo Kohgo sit at the bottom with 0. Then in Red Stars A, Saya Kamitani, the World of Stardom champion, sits at 8-0, while Bea Priestley dropped her first match, dropping to 3-1 and staying at 6 points. Hanan and May Sarah both have 5 apiece. Lady C at 4. Azusa Naba and Uni Misamorei at 2 apiece, and Waka sitting at the bottom at 0. Then Red Stars B, you have 8 points for the undefeated Rina. Natsuko Tora sits in second with 6 points. Azumi and Starlight Kid at 5. Natsupoi at 4. Sayaka Kurara, Tomoki Naba at 2 apiece, and Rian at 0. So that is how that all breaks down so far. For those wondering as well, in terms of timestamps, the longest average match right now is going to the Wonder of Stardom champion Starlight Kid, averaging 12:29. She also has the most time in the ring at 49 minutes and 54 seconds. But Tomoki Inaba and Sareee are right behind her in terms of average time. Inaba at 12:20 with Sareee at 12:21. For what it's worth, Saya Kamitani, pretty low. She's only averaging 6 minutes and 12 seconds per tournament. So obviously keeping her fresh, keeping her healthy, and not putting too much time. While Waka is averaging a whopping 1 minute and 48 seconds, which is incredible considering she's had 4 matches. It's pretty crazy. But that is all from that. And then before we get out of here, let's look at the matches worth the watch. This is my matches worth recommending from this tournament. If you're not watching the whole thing, you don't have the time to watch the whole thing. These are the matches worth the watch. You have Sareee versus Konami from day one, still under my great category, while Mei Seira versus Hanan also joined them from day 4 at the Sendai Pit. But we had 3 additions in the very good column, in my opinion. Saya Kamitani versus Zusa Naba, Suzuki versus Momo Watanabe from day 5, as well as Sareee versus Hina from day 5, and Rina versus Tomoki Inaba from day 5. Then the good column, Iida and Anou, as well as Tomoki Inaba and Starlight Kid from day 1. Saori versus Ranna Yagami and Ami Sohrei and Iida from day 3. Natsupoi and Tomoki Naba from day 4, as well as Azumi and Starlight Kid from day 4. And from day 5, Saori Anou and Ami Sohrei. Like I said, I'll keep updating this to give you an idea of the matches I'd recommend going out of your way to see with the levels. There will be a higher level. There is one higher level, and that's match of the tournament level. I don't think we've had that yet. I don't think we've had that definitive, undeniable match of the tournament not being touched yet. And I think this weekend we get our first shot at it, or this week, I should say. This week, I think we get our first shot. We have Saya Kamitani versus Hanan at the Cork and Hall show on Wednesday. That is definitely a option. I think Azumi versus Rina should be great as well. And then at Kyoto, KBS Hall, which is on the 9th, so next Saturday, we have Sareee versus Suzu Suzuki. I think that's obviously a fantastic option as well. In Okayama, we have Natsupoi versus Rina, Starlight Kid versus Tora. I think that match actually will be quite interesting. But you look at the Yokohama Budokan show in a few weeks, day 10, Kamitani versus Sarah, Kid versus Rina rematch, but nothing shines brighter than Sareee versus Momo Watanabe, Yokohama Budokan. Should be great number of weeks. We're almost there. We're almost at the end of this tournament. We're halfway point. I think this is really, I mean, day 5. Yeah, day 5. We have 11 days, so we're pretty much at the halfway point now. So that's pretty huge. And for the MVP conversation, based on my personal rankings, this is not the perfect MVP thing or anything, but the MVP rankings are something I like to keep track of by averaging match out by how I rate them. So the Red Stars MVP as of right now, to me, is none other than Tomoka Inaba at 3.50. Starlight Kid's right behind her, though, with a 3.31. And Rina sitting at a 3.25. Red Stars A has been a tough run, but we're getting there. Mei Seira stands at the top there over Saya Kamitani. And then in the Blue Stars side of things, the MVP winner so far, shocker, is Saori at a 3.75. But she is joined by Anou, who I have at 3.33, Iida at 3.25, as well as Hina at a 3.25. Shout out to Hina. She's only had 2 matches, but I digress. But that is your MVP conversation. And with that, that is everything, folks. Thank you so much for listening to this edition of the 5-star Joshi Show, 5-star Grand Prix daily reviews. This was day 5. We'll be back with day 6 on Wednesday. We'll also be back with day 2 of the Dream Star this week as well. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you everyone for the support. Please leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what your favorite match is through day 5 of the tournament. I'd love to hear what your favorite match was from this day, but overall, because I think everyone has a different pick, and I think that's the fascinating part about this tournament thus far. So I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you're thinking, and thank you everyone once again for the support. So until next time, everyone, enjoy your upcoming week. We're back on Wednesday with more tournament reviews. Until then, so long. See you later. Bye bye.